So our next presenter is actually one of our newest members to BackBone. She's a whiz in creative intelligence and digital communication. Jenna Oberstein is the founder of ATAG Communications. Now, I believe just as a clothes tag can tell you the story about a brand and includes all the washing advice, if you want your business to tell a similar story, it's time to tag it with ATAG. And Jenna's here to give us a sneak peek into how that works and why that's important. So over to you, Jenna.
Hello, sorry, I'm setting up all the tech in the background. Thank you so much for that intro, and it is really lovely to be here, especially as someone who's quite new to the community. So yeah, lovely to meet everyone. Looking forward to chatting more. I'm just going to be sharing my screen, so one moment. I get some thumbs up if you can see that.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So as I mentioned before, slides are brittle, but whatever, we'll just go with it. As I mentioned before, I've got a social media agency and I focus on account management and developing online communities. But like really the reason I do that, and I always say this, is because I learned that firstly, people really don't like doing it. And number two, they don't know how to do it. And it's something I was really passionate about and I know how to do it and I really love it. So it worked quite nicely there. And this is just like what I say first, and it sounds so simple and clear that a good business deserves good communication. But to me, it's like such a no-brainer. And it's such a gap and something like a hole that just has a whole lot of potential. Now, even though I'm a social media agency and my main thing is account management, I'm really passionate about perfecting a client before we actually even log on to accounts. And the first thing I do is branding. And it's something that I've actually learned recently that I can also offer as an independent package, which was like a big milestone for me this year. And we're going to dive into what branding means. So I'm trying to see. Also, I can't really see the chat function, but if anyone has questions throughout, please pop them in there. And maybe, Kavita, if you could read them out, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, branding. Now, a lot of people, it's kind of confusing. What is branding? Like, what really does it mean? And if we look at these three icons, they are just so familiar to all of us. It's the Cadbury purple, it's the golden arches, and it's the Nike swoosh. And yes, branding is a logo and branding is a color, but really branding is so much more. And branding is about the tone of voice. Branding is about what it means to be that company. And yes, then the color and the icon are those little recognizable things that help us portray that brand to the world. When I look at branding, I sort of looked a bit wider at the goal of branding, and that is to connect with your audience, to connect with humans. So from there, I asked myself, what are three things that humans crave? And the three things that I developed was connection, aesthetic, and value. And we're going to look at each of these, and I hope to give a few little insights and actionable tips with each of these you can walk away and apply to your brands. Okay, number one, connection. First, what is connection? I feel like we all use that word a lot. It was even someone's word of the year. But a relationship in which a person or thing is linked or associated with something else. So how are we linking our audience to our brand? Now, when I started with my business, it was just over 2 years ago, and I was still studying in university. Now, that was a really stressful and crazy time. And in January, I finally went full-time, which is why one of the reasons why my word of the year was whoa, because that was a new journey and it's been really exciting. Going full-time meant I suddenly had all this, investment and time that I could give to the business. But it also meant that I was kind of in a really isolating spot. And in about February, I started networking. And that's led me to the point where I found BackBone and started being here today, which is pretty cool. And for me, it made a massive difference to be surrounded by people who could connect to what I was doing. My family and friends love hearing about ATAG and hearing all the updates, but it's just different to sitting and chatting to someone about clients, about, you know, how difficult it is sometimes to keep on track of yourself without a boss, and, you know, all the things that come with owning a business. And that was a huge development for me. So number one, when we talk about connection, it actually helps humans thrive. And how do we connect? And really it's through storytelling. And that's the reason I just told a story now. And that's the reason also why when you are looking at your brand and the first thing you're looking for is what is the story of your brand. And that's why I've said, humanize your brand and find your story. Now, how do you do that? Because so many people say to me, and so many clients that I sit down with at first say, we don't have a story. You're going to have to make something up. Number one, don't reinvent the wheel because it exists. Your story is there. It has to. If you have a business, you have a story. Number two, so how do we find it? Get talking. As soon as you get talking to someone, you talk about your business, talk about what you do, why you do it, the story will come out. And number three, most importantly, be with someone who can help identify your aha moment. And if anyone wants to chat to me and help identify your aha moment, please be in touch. Okay, next thing is aesthetic. So aesthetic is used to talk about beauty or art and people's appreciation of beautiful things. We are humans with eyes and we like things that look good. It's as simple as that. We connect to things through a story, but first impressions do matter. They really do have an impact, and it says something about what's within. If you walk into an interview in really ragged clothes, you're not going to make a good first impression. And that's the same thing with your brand. If you want your story to be meaningful and strong and powerful and have an impact, you need to have a visual that also really matches that. Now, how do we do that? And that is really creating your look. And what's important about this is you're creating your look before you actually do anything else. Before you even create an Instagram page, you should have created your look. And that look is based on the story that you developed and figured out through talking and getting that aha moment. And a lot of people say to me, we can't pay for a designer right now. How do we get a good logo? And there are so many AI tools out there. You search, create my logo, look through thousands of things, colors that match this energy. Really just like using the internet is the first point to go to. And my little tip there is to make sure if you get any logos, you get them in all the different versions. So you can use them in the future. You'll need them in a whole lot of different versions for different things. All right, so far we've done connection, and that was the voice, finding your story. We did aesthetic, and that was the look, make sure you look good. And really, these two are pointless if you don't go to the third one, which is value. Now, value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Really here, what I want to stress is that value is defined by the receiver, not the giver. So if you're talking to a friend and they're in a tough spot, if you would want a cup of tea, well, me personally, I love a cup of tea to sit on the couch and have a chat, but my friend might just need some space. And she won't value a cup of tea and a chat like I would. And that's really where we have to understand who our audience is. There's a beautiful story that someone once told me that I'll tell really quickly before wrapping up, that there was a movie premiere and there was so much, everyone looking forward to this movie premiere, and they spent hours and hours on it, and it came to the opening night and they got, the seats polished and they got new popcorn in the machine, and everyone was waiting for this, amazing movie to be shown. And then they walked into the cinema and they realized they forgot to invite anyone. And you spend so much time on the story, you spend so much time on the voice and the look of your company, then you need to make sure you're actually speaking to the right people. And that's when you move on to strategy, which is the whole next ball game. But that's my little insights on branding and understanding a brand. And if anyone would like to speak more about what their brand is and how to understand it, or the next steps going on to strategy, I'd love you to reach out. And if there's any questions now as well, I'll stop sharing so I can see the chat if anything has come through.
Thank you. No questions yet, but Jenna's details are all on BackBone. So if you want to have a one-on-one chat with her, reach out. Jenna, I can tell while you're so good at what you do, love all the storytelling. You make it very, very relatable. So thank you.